The ground took the badge like it had been waiting. Dawn bled along the red rock, thin and cold. Sheriff Jonah Reed knelt at the small stone heap that marked his boy. He had dug this spot with his own hands 2 weeks ago. The desert wind still found the loosened dirt and moved it like a whisper. Jonah held his badge in his palm and felt its chill. The metal had weight, but not as heavy as his heart. He said his son's name once, plain and low. He did not pray. He did not know how to pray without asking for the past to change. He pressed the badge into the soil and covered it with 2 fingers of earth. The tin star disappeared. He waited for the ache to ease. It did not. A train called far off at the spur. A hawk turned slowly above the cliff. The world went on with or without him. Jonah stood, empty holster at his hip, and looked toward town. There were files on a desk, men with short tempers, and a noose in someone's barn. He had kept order for 12 hard years. He had done it with rules, a calm voice, and a steady eye. None of that saved his boy from a stray bullet on a dusty street. Footsteps slid over stone behind him. Jonah turned, hand open, because he had left the gun at home. A man stepped from the junipers, lean, weathered, wrapped in a dark blanket. His eyes were steady. He did not greet with talk. He only nodded, like both of them already knew the same storm. "Walk with me 1 mile, the man said. Jonah stared. "I am done walking." "Not this mile." The man pointed down a faint path that dropped into a wash and bent around a stand of cottonwoods. "Leave the gun you are not wearing. Carry the badge you think you buried. Speak only the truth when asked. At the end, choose." "I don't know you," Jonah said. "My name is Ashki," he answered. "I will not argue." Wind tugged at Jonah's coat. The space where his badge had rested felt bare and hot. He crouched, found the tin star, and slid it into his pocket. He did not pin it on. "Why me?" he asked. "You already started," Ashki said, and began to walk. Jonah followed, heart heavy. They set out along the faint path side by side, not close. The wash curved between red walls and scattered cottonwoods. The sand held last night's chill, and the sun had not cleared the rim. Jonah breathed in dust, sage, and the iron smell of his own worry. He kept a palm on his pocket where the badge lay, small as a coin and loud as a bell. Ashki walked with an even pace. He did not stare or prod. He looked ahead like the mile was something real, a line drawn on the world. Jonah watched his steps, the way he placed his feet on rock and then on sand, quiet and sure. "A healer," the man had said without saying it. "Not a preacher, not a judge." "You gave me 3 terms," Jonah said at last. "Say them again." "Leave the gun," Ashki said. "Carry the badge." "Speak only the truth when asked. At the end you may quit or you may not. That choice is yours." "I already left the gun," Jonah said. "Yes," Ashki answered. "But the anger is heavier." They came to a shelf of stone warm from the old sun. On it lay 4 small pebbles, round and ordinary. Ashki touched none of them. He only stood near as if listening. A train horn drifted up the wash and faded. The land grew wide and empty again. Jonah's breath found a slow rhythm with his steps. Once he would have filled the quiet with talk about cattle counts and taxes and fences. The badge had made men listen, and the listening had made him fill the air he did not need to fill. Today he kept still. The stillness hurt. It also held. "How far is a mile to you?" Jonah asked. "The same as to you," Ashki said. "But this mile changes feet." They walked on. A jackrabbit flashed, then froze under a thorn bush. A line of ants crossed the path, moving grain by grain like a tiny freight. The world kept its work. The wind brought a smell like dry copper. Jonah's mouth went tight. "You don't ask me anything," he said. "I will," Ashki replied. "Only once we arrive where your answer fits." "Where is that?" Ashki nodded toward a bend of rock ahead, pale and smooth as bone. "There." The path narrowed. Jonah's chest rose and fell, steady, waiting for truth. They reached the pale bend of rock. The stone curved like a shoulder, holding shade that smelled of dust and old rain. Ashki stopped there and faced the open miles. He did not look at Jonah. He gave the land his eyes as if it were witness enough. "What is the weight you carry?" Ashki asked. Jonah almost said the first easy thing. He almost said the outlaw's name. He swallowed. The badge in his pocket felt hot, then cold. He looked at his boots and saw thin lines of red dirt in every stitch. He had walked a long way, making simple things difficult. "It is not the boy," Jonah said. "It is me." "Say it plain," Ashki said. Jonah set his hand on the rock. It was warm. It steadied him. "I pushed a chase I did not need to push," he said. The street was crowded. "My son brought me my lunch and would not go home, and I let him stand near because I was proud he watched me work. I wanted the town to see I could bring a man down in daylight, clean and quick. I wanted my name to be bigger than my fear." The wind climbed the rock and fell again. A cloud slid across the sun. Jonah felt the shade like a hand on his neck. "I saw a flash," he said. "I moved to shield a woman in a wagon. I thought my shot was safe. Another shot cracked from the alley. The bullet did not have a name on it, but it found my boy. He dropped without a sound. I ran, but I ran toward the man I hated, not toward the child I loved. That is the truth I wake to." Ashki did not speak for a stretch of breaths. Then he said, "You knew this before now." "Yes." "Then the weight is not only pride, it is stubbornness." Jonah nodded once. It hurt. "I built a code to stand up straight. Then I used that code to stand in the wrong place." "Good," Ashki said, as if good could mean sharp. "Walk." They left the rock's shade and stepped back into the light. The path widened, then narrowed again. Jonah carried the words the way a man carries water, carefully, both hands steady, knowing he will need them soon. He did not look back at the bend. They came to a dry wash where the wind had combed the sand into thin ribs. In a shallow place lay 4 small stones, smooth and gray, set in a quiet line. No tracks around them, no marks of a ritual. Just stones, simple as breath. Ashki stood near and waited as if the ground had spoken first. "What are they for?" Jonah asked. "For seeing," Ashki said. "Not with the eyes." Jonah knelt. The wash smelled like hot iron and dry weeds. He touched the first stone. It was cool. He felt his throat tighten the way it did when he wrote a report and tried not to lie. "Say his name," Ashki said. Jonah said his son's name. The sound came rough. He had not said it more than a whisper since the grave. He said it again, clearer, and let the wash carry it. The wind moved the sage and set a small shadow to shiver across the stones. "Now tell him one thing you never said." Jonah looked at the second stone. Sun flared off a mica speck and went dim. He wanted to speak like a sheriff, neat and steady. The words would not line up that way. "I wore the badge to feel big enough," he said, "not to be good enough. I wanted folks to see a man who could not be pushed. I wanted my boy to see it too. I stood taller when people watched, and I forgot to be small where I should be small." Ashki said nothing. He only breathed with the breeze, calm, as if time were wide. Jonah pressed 2 fingers to the third stone. "I am sorry," he said, and felt how thin the words were, like paper in a storm. "I should have sent you home. I should have stepped between you and pride. I did neither." He placed his palm on the 4th stone and felt the sun in it. "I will not chase the shape of my anger," he said. "I will carry your name instead." Ashki nodded once. "Stand," he said. "We walk." Jonah rose. He did not take the stones. He left them as they were, ordinary and exact. The badge in his pocket felt less like metal and more like a promise that needed a witness. He breathed, and for a moment the wash breathed with him. For the mile, they left the wash and followed a ledge of rock that angled toward low hills. The sun had climbed, bright. Lizards flashed over the stone and were gone. The mile felt longer. Each bend hit a test. Jonah's pocket held the badge like a hot coal. He kept his hand away from it. Touching it made the ache rise. Ashki slowed. He lifted his chin, listening. The wind came from the south, carrying sage dust and a thin sound, maybe a bird. Jonah heard it again. Faint, broken, not a bird at all. "Help," the sound said, then faded. They moved fast along the ledge and down a slope of scree. At the bottom lay a dry creek with roots clawing the air. Beside a cottonwood, half in shade, a boy lay on his side with one arm tight around his belly. His skin was gray under the tan. Sweat marked his hair and temples. A pair of boots too big lay kicked off. Jonah knew the face even with the fear on it. Cal Ortega, the boy who had run with older men. The boy whose stray bullet had found Jonah's child. Cal's eyes widened when he saw the sheriff. He tried to sit up and could not. "Don't touch me," Cal gasped. "Don't, please." Ashkey knelt first, calm as a man at a spring. He looked at the ground, not just the boy. "There," he said. Tracks. In the dust near Cal's boot lay the print of a thick-bodied snake. 2 clear arcs, a drag, and a smear where it had struck. On Cal's ankle the skin was swollen and shiny, 2 dark punctures standing out like ink dots. The boy shook with a small, steady tremor. "How long?" Ashkey asked. "A while," Cal said, jaw tight. "I thought I could walk. I fell. His breath hitched. "I didn't mean to. About your boy. I didn't." Jonah's throat closed. His hands opened and closed without a plan. He looked at the rim, at the blue sky, anywhere but the boy's leg. "Your mile is deciding you," Ashkey said, not unkind. "Walk on or work." Jonah wanted to walk on. He wanted the desert to finish what hatred started. He could step away and say fate did the rest. He could, and he would feel empty forever. The air waited. "Tell me what to do," Jonah said. "Good," Ashkey answered. "First be still." Jonah knelt on the sand. His hands shook, but he held them still. Ashkey spoke low, steady, like counting fence posts. "Do not chase the poison," Ashkey said. "Do not cut. Do not suck. Keep him calm. Keep the bite below his heart." Jonah nodded. "Cal, look at me," he said. "Breathe with me." He took the boy's hand and felt the heat and the fear in it. "Boot," Ashkey said. "Loosen now before the swelling makes a trap." Jonah eased the leather and slid the boot off. He stripped the sock back and saw how tight the skin had stretched. The 2 punctures looked small, but the anger around them was not. "Limb still," Ashkey said. He passed Jonah a folded strip torn from his own sleeve. "Wrap above the bite. Not a choke. Firm. Then you will loosen it every little while. Poison rides the river of blood. We slow the river, we do not dam it." Jonah wrapped the cloth hand carefully. "Like this?" "Good," Ashkey said. He set a flat board under the leg and bound it with twine. "No walking. No jumping, heart." Cal tried to pull away as a wave of pain hit him. Jonah kept the boy's shoulders down with his forearms and spoke plainly. "Stay with me, son." The word slipped out. Jonah did not take it back. "You are not dying here." Ashkey felt the skin above the wrap, then at Cal's neck. "Breath is fast," he said. "Talk to him." Jonah leaned close. "I worked 12 years to stop trouble from growing legs," he said. "Today I stop it from growing in you. Breathe slow." He set a rhythm. In, out, in, out. Cal matched it, halting at first, then steadier. Ashkey broke a twig and set it as a marker on the sand. "We measure time by shadow," he said. "Every few minutes loosen, then snug again. Keep the limb cool, not ice. Water will do." Jonah soaked a rag in the canteen and laid it near the swelling. He wiped Cal's brow. The boy's jaw unclenched a little. "Will it work?" Jonah asked. "It will keep him," Ashkey said. "Medicine waits in town. Your hands carry him there." The sun climbed. The shadow moved. Jonah loosened, then snugged the wrap. He counted each breath. He would not walk on. He would work. Ashkey watched, silent, measuring the mile. Ashkey watched the shadow creep over the twig marker. He looked at Jonah, then at the boy. "Now," he said, "tell him what you would tell your son." Jonah kept one hand on the wrap and the other on Cal's shoulder. The boy's skin was still hot. His eyes were open, glassy with fear and pain. Jonah swallowed. Words felt like stones in a dry mouth. "I tried to be the biggest man in town," Jonah said. "I wore the badge like a wall. I thought being hard kept people safe. I chased a bad man because I wanted folks to see I could end a fight clean. Pride put me on that street. Pride kept my boy near me. Pride made me slow when I should have been fast. I am not saying this to hurt you. I am saying it so it stops in me and does not pass into you." Cal blinked. "I ain't worth your talk," he whispered. "You are," Jonah said. "You are a boy who made a wrong step with older fools. You are also a boy whose breath still runs. That is worth the world today. He loosened the wrap a finger's width and snugged it again. Listen closely. Anger feels like a friend it is not. It will eat your house from the inside. It will use your name and make you think you chose it. If you live, choose better. Cal's lip shook. I'm sorry about your kid. I know, Jonah said. His voice went rough. I should have told my son more than how to aim and how to stand. I should have told him what to forgive and when to walk away. I am telling you now because he cannot hear me. I will not let that silence spread. Ashki nodded once as if a gate had opened. Good, he said. Truth lets breath find room. Jonah took the rag, wet it again, and cooled the swelling. He kept talking, simple and steady. You will face a judge, he said. You will answer for the harm. But you will not face a rope while I have this badge and while your breath holds. Do you hear me? Cal shut his eyes and nodded. I hear, he said, small but sure. Then breathe, Jonah answered. That is your work. Mine is the rest. The mile moved under their feet, quieter. The sun slid past noon and the wash filled with light. Cal's shaking eased, then returned in small waves. Jonah kept the rhythm. Loosen the wrap, snug it again, wet the cloth, speak steady. The work felt like walking inside a narrow hallway with no room for pride. Only breath. Only hands. We need to move him, Ashki said at last. Slow so the heart does not gallop. How? Jonah asked. He cannot walk. Make the ground carry, Ashki said. He stepped into the cottonwoods and came back with 2 straight branches and a shirt pulled from his own pack. He tore the shirt and laced a sling between the branches. We slide him, not lift him high. Jonah nodded. Cal, we will shift you, he said. You will not be alone for 1 step. He and Ashki rolled the boy with care, set the bitten leg on the board, then eased him onto the sling. Cal groaned, then grit his teeth and stared at the sky. Sweat made a bright line past his ear. Breathe with the pull, Ashki said. They took the poles, 1 man at the front and 1 at the back. The travois rasped softly over sand and thin grass. Jonah watched the board, the wrap, the boy's chest. Every few minutes they stopped. Jonah loosened the cloth, counted, and snugged it again. He felt the desert watch them with its wide, indifferent face. He did not expect help. He did the right thing with his next breath. The mile has a mark, Ashki said from behind. A stack of stones taller than a knee. When we reach it, you choose, Jonah said nothing. He knew the shape of choice already. It had stood beside him all morning. The badge weighed against his thigh. It did not burn now. It waited. They slid past the last bend of the wash. The land opened. In the near distance stood a small cairn, neat and gray against the red. A raven hopped on the top stone and then lifted away, lazy as if it had seen 100 such miles. Cal turned his head to look. Sheriff? I'm here, Jonah said. If I don't make it, you are making it, Jonah said firm. That is the only talk you will use. Ashki's voice came quietly. At the stone, speak once to the past. Then look to the road that lives. They moved on, slow and sure. The cairn grew larger. The choice waited like a door already open. They reached the cairn just as the sun leaned west. The stones were stacked knee-high, steady against the wind. Ashki set the poles down and stood beside Jonah in the bright hush. Cal lay quiet on the sling, eyes open, breath thin but working. This is the mile, Ashki said. At this mark you speak to what was. Then you decide what lives. Jonah touched the top stone with his fingers. The grit bit his skin and told him the world was solid. He took the badge from his pocket. It was warm from his walk, warmer from his choice. He held it up to the sky. I buried you to hide, he said, plain. I carry you now to serve. He pinned the badge to his vest. The weight settled like a true thing, finding its place. He looked at Ashki. Point me to justice, he said. I am done with revenge. Ashki lifted his chin toward the track that ran to town. There, he answered. Medicine waits there. Law waits there. Men with empty hearts wait there too. A horse nickered from a patch of shade near a low bluff. Jonah turned. A small dun mare stood tied to a mesquite, saddle light, reins looped. Ashki had prepared more than words. She carries straight, Ashki said. We will use the travois behind her. They eased Cal onto a blanket and slid him onto the travois board. Jonah checked the wrap, loosened and snugged it as the shadow told time. He spoke in the same even voice he had used all morning. Breathe, Cal, you ride easily. We go steady. Cal licked dry lips. Sheriff, he said. If they come with rope, they will meet a wall that doesn't break, Jonah said, hand firm on the boy's shoulder. The court will hear. The truth will stand. No rope. Ashki untied the mare and placed the leads in Jonah's hand. You lead, he said. It is your mile still. They started toward town. The mare walked smoothly. The travois slid, whispering over sand and stone. Heat hummed. A buzzard wrote circles high above, patient as time. Far off the rail spur glinted. Far off a dust thread climbed where riders might be. Jonah did not look away. We finished this right, he said. Step by step, they moved on, and the cairn fell behind them like a door closed slowly. The track to town lay bright. Jonah led the mare with a hand while Ashki walked behind. Watching Cal and the travois, the board rasped and the poles ticked like a slow clock. Each sound marked a choice he would not undo. They stopped at a seep where Stone held a shallow cup of water. Jonah cooled the rag, checked the wrap, loosened, then snugged it again. Cal's eyes followed him with the trust of someone too tired to argue. Still with me? Jonah asked. Cal nodded once. Good, Jonah said. That is enough for now. They moved on. A dust devil unrolled across the flats, thin as rope, then died. The sky looked close. The land felt honest even when it hurt. Jonah kept time with the mare's step and with Cal's breath. He thought of the desk in his office, the worn chair, the ledger with its straight lines. He thought of the noose that some men kept ready like a tool they were proud to own. He would face that noise with quiet. Ashki came forward and walked beside him. Your voice is even, he said. Keep it so when the street fills. I will, Jonah answered. What do I say when men ask why I saved the boy? Say the truth, Ashki said. Say, law is a door that opens to a road. Revenge is a pit that only goes down. Jonah tried the words in his mouth and felt them fit. Law is a door, he said. A door needs a backbone to stand. Good, Ashki said. Name your line. Jonah looked over the miles and spoke low. Justice is patient. Pride is fast. I will walk with the patient thing. They topped a low rise. Town showed small against the bright. A handful of roofs, the water tower, the spur, and the black tooth of the gallows frame someone had raised last year after a bad winter. Jonah felt anger step up inside his ribs. He let it pass by like a stranger. Cal stirred. Sheriff? I'm here, Jonah said. First stop is Doc Herrera. Then the jail, not the rope. Then the truth on paper. Will they listen? They will hear me if my backbone holds, Jonah said. He touched the badge. It will, the mare walked on. Ashki's blanket fluttered like a flag. The mile behind them had changed the mile ahead. Main Street woke when the mare's hooves hit the first boards. A few men looked up from the porch of the saloon. A woman with a flour sack paused on the steps of the store. The black frame of the gallows cut a square of sky. Jonah felt the town watch him like a jury without a bench. Straight to Doc, he said. Ashki nodded and kept a hand on the travois pole. Jonah led the mare to a white door with a brass plate. Herrera, surgeon. He rapped once and pushed in. The room smelled of carbolic, soap, and dust. Doc Herrera stood from his desk, sleeves rolled, eyes sharp. Snake, Jonah said. Lower leg. A few hours old. Kept him still. Slowed the blood. He needs your work. Doc looked at Cal's ankle. Bite is clean. You did fair. He met Jonah's eyes. This is Ortega, isn't it? Yes, Jonah said, Doc's jaw set. All right. On the table. They lifted Cal. Doc worked fast and quietly. Wash, wrap, a careful cut to ease pressure, a brown glass bottle, a measured dose. You will hurt and you may swell more, Doc said to Cal. But you have a road. Voices rose outside. Boots thudded. The door opened without a knock. 3 men filled the frame. Griff Barlow with a coil of rope, Walt Keene with a red face and a younger hand with eyes too bright. That boy shot a child, Griff said, rope swinging like a lazy snake. He doesn't see a doctor before he sees a tree. Jonah stepped between the table and the men. His voice stayed even. Law is a door that opens to a road. Revenge is a pit. We walk the road. Walt spat at the floorboards. Fine talk, Sheriff, but your blood is in the ground. Stand aside. Doc Herrera stood too, small and stubborn. This is my room. Ashki did not move. He set his palm on the travois pole as if settling a restless colt. Jonah touched the badge with 2 fingers, not for show, but to feel the weight. You want a rope, he said. You bring a warrant. You want to shout? He pointed with his chin. Take it to the street. But in this room medicine works. In my jail order holds. In my report the truth will stand my fault next to his. The younger hand looked from the rope to Cal's face and took a step back. Griff's jaw worked. The rope went still. Griff's mouth twisted, but he did not cross the line of the door. Jonah did not press him. He kept his voice level, like speaking to a skittish team. Doc has his work, Jonah said. I have mine. When he is done, I take the boy to jail. Then I write the report. Any man who wants to speak can meet me on the street after that. You will use words, not rope. Griff glanced past Jonah at Cal. The boy lay pale, eyes closed, breath thin. Walt shifted his boots, angry but unsure. The younger hand stared at the floor. Street then, Griff said. An hour. He tapped the rope against his leg and stepped back. We are not done. No, Jonah said. We are not. He did not add heat. He closed the door. Doc finished the wrap, set a splint, and tied it neatly. Keep him low, leg up, Doc said. If he shivers, cover him. If his breath jumps, call me. He looks like he will hold. Jonah nodded. Thank you. Doc looked at him hard. You set your back to a storm. Hold it? I will, Jonah said. They slid Cal to the travois again, careful. Ashki tied the lines to the mare with a clean knot. He met Jonah's eyes. The town is a different wash, he said. The same rules, breath steady, hands ready, truth first. They stepped into the light. The hour was already moving. People had gathered. Men with folded arms, women with tight faces, a few boys standing on a barrel for a better look. The gallows frame threw its square shadow like a dare. Jonah led the mare through the open lane that formed in the crowd. Jail, he said. He did not raise his voice. It carried. They reached the stone building with the iron door. Jonah unlocked it and waved Ashki in. The cells were small and clean. He set Cal on a cot, lifted the bitten leg on a folded blanket, and covered the boy with another. Cal's eyes opened, dull but sane. You kept your say, Cal murmured. I will keep it again, Jonah said. You will answer to a judge, not to a rope. Ashki stood by the bars, still as a tree. Jonah sat at the desk just outside and pulled the ledger close. His hand hovered. He had never feared ink before. He began. Time, place, name, cause. He wrote the truth clean. The chase, the crowd, his pride, the stray bullet, the boy's part, and the mile. When he finished, he sanded the page and blew. He stood outside. The hour reached its edge. Voices rose like wind before a dust storm. Jonah stepped out of the jail into a hard blue light. The street held a knot of men, and the space around them like a ring. Griff Barlow stood at the front with his rope coiled tight. Walt Keene leaned on the hitch rail. A few ranch hands shifted, waiting to follow whoever spoke loudest. Women stood back by the store porch, faces set and pale. You asked for words, Jonah said. Use them. Griff lifted his chin. The boy killed a child. You talk doors and roads, but the ground wants blood. We put him on a rope and the town sleeps. The town does not sleep with a stain, Jonah said. It learns to like the dark, murmurs stirred. Walt spat, then pointed. You didn't bury a son, Sheriff? His voice cracked on the last word. I did, Jonah said. That is why I will not hang a boy in the street for your sleep. Law first. Court first. We will ride for the judge at first light. If you want to stand for the town, stand with me now. Keep order. Keep calm. Griff swung the coil and let it fall. Order's a fine word, but a noose is fast. You give us your oath the court will not go soft? I give you my oath, the truth is written, Jonah said, tapping the ledger under his arm. My fault is in it. His fault is in it. We will own both. That is the backbone of this badge. The younger hand from before spoke up, eyes down. My pa took a whipping once he did not earn. The sheriff then said it was simple justice. It was not. It burned our house for years. He looked at Jonah. I will stand with the door. Ashkey stood beside Jonah, silent, blanket dark against the light. He did not glare. He did not smile. He was a still place men could steady against if they wanted to. Boots scraped. A few men nodded. A few folded their arms tighter. Griff's jaw worked. An hour's up, he said. Storm's coming, Sheriff. If the court fails, I won't. Then you can meet me in the daylight, Jonah said. Not tonight. Thunder grumbled from the south, low and far. The wind shifted, bringing the smell of wet dust. Jonah raised his hand. Men of this town, hold steady. Tonight, the first fat drops hit the street like thrown pebbles. Wind rolled down Main, turning words to scraps. Dust leapt, then fell under the sudden rain. In the south, a brown wall climbed the sky, mean as any posse. People looked up with the same fear they had kept for rope. Inside, Jonah called. Tie what moves. Latch what swings. He pointed to the jail. Ashkey with me, they moved fast. Jonah checked the cell, the shutters, and the lamp. Cal lay pale but awake. The bandage held. Storm, Jonah said. You breathe. We'll keep the roof. Ashkey nodded once and went to the rear door. He set a wedge under it and stacked sacks of grain against the sill. Water will try the low places, he said. We make higher ground indoors. Outside, the wind found its howl. Barrels rolled. A sign clapped itself mad. Griff and Walt wrestled the saloon doors shut with two others, cursing but working. The younger hand ran with a rope and tied the mare to the far rail, head to leeward, a blanket over her eyes. Rain became grit. Grit became a sheet of moving earth. The street blurred. Jonah felt the jail breathe, wood and stone talking in the gusts. He set another brace under the front door and looked to the window. The gallows frame wavered like a black reed. Sand in the lungs kills as fast as anger, Ashkey said, calm. Wet the cloths. Jonah tore a strip and soaked it, tied one over Cal's nose and mouth and another for himself. He passed one to Ashkey. The room dimmed as daylight turned to dustlight. Boards creaked. A pane cracked and held. Something heavy slammed the side of the jail. A water barrel skittering, then pinned. Jonah shoved a bench against the wall to brace it. He felt the pushback of the storm like a big man's shoulder. He pushed steadily. Through the noise came a cry, a woman's voice from the alley, thin as wire. Jonah looked at Ashkey. Ashkey nodded once. I hold here. You go. Jonah tied the cloth tighter, lifted his coat over his head and stepped into the grind. The world shrank to arm's length. He found the alley by memory and feel. A figure crouched by a door, a child hidden under her dress hem coughing. Sheriff? She called. I have you, he said. Hold my belt. He bent low and made his body a windbreak. The woman took his belt. The child's hand found his coat and held on like a burr. The wind clawed at them. Grit stung his eyes. He breathed through the wet cloth and counted steps the way he had counted breaths for Cal. They reached the mouth of the alley and turned toward the jail. Boards skittered past like startled crabs. A tin pan bounced off his boot and spun away. The woman stumbled. Jonah locked his arm under hers and kept moving. 3 more doors, he said. Then you are inside. Ashkey had the front door open a sliver, rope tied to the handle, body braced. Jonah pushed the woman through, then the child, then himself, shoving the door with all his weight. The latch caught. The room felt quiet because the storm roared. Water? Ashkey asked. The woman nodded, coughing. Jonah poured, tipped the cup to her lips, then to the child's. He set wet cloths over their noses. Stay low, he said. Back wall's strongest. Cal watched from the cell, eyes clearer, face gray. You go out in that? he asked, voice shredded. I go where the breath is, Jonah said. He checked the bandage, loosened it, then snugged it again. The swelling had held its line. Relief hit him like a cool hand. A plank thumped at the window. The younger hand appeared there, hat down, eyes slitted. He pushed the plank into place and pounded 2 nails with the heel of his knife. Sheriff! He shouted. The gallows frame is listing. I braced it with a team rope. Good work, Jonah called. Tie double. Griff and Walt stumbled in with a barrel between them. Both were sand-raw and wet. They shoved the barrel against the door as another brace. Griff's rope hung from his belt, dark with mud. He met Jonah's eyes, and the look was clean of swagger. Only effort. This blows like judgment, Walt said, breath ragged. It will pass, Ashkey answered. Stand up inside it. They did. For a long stretch, the only talk was storm talk. Brace, tie, wedge, breathe. The woman held her child and mouthed thanks across the room. Jonah nodded back. We hold together, he said. That is how roofs stay. The light shifted. The roar lowered. Dust turned to steady rain. The jail exhaled as if it too had lungs. The rain steadied into a fall, tapping the roof like fingers counting. The air inside the jail smelled of wet rope and soap. Jonah lowered his cloth and breathed deeply. Cal's chest rose with a calmer rhythm. The woman and her child leaned against the back wall, eyes closed. Safe enough for now. Ashkey checked the rear door, then looked at Jonah. The storm ends, he said. The other one waits, boots splashed outside. The latch jumped. Jonah opened the door a crack. Main Street lay silver with puddles. The gallows frame leaned crooked, one leg sunk, the crossbeam twisted. A crowd gathered, hats low, tempers uncertain. Griff stood there with Walt, the rope looped but hanging. His face had lost its blaze. He raised his chin because habit told him to, not because his heart was sure. Sheriff, he said, voice rough. Weather did not wash the deed. No, Jonah said. The deed waits for the court. The boy lives. So will this town if we keep it steady. Walt hooked his thumbs in his belt. You hiding him forever? He is in his cell, Jonah answered. He stepped into the doorway so all could hear. Doc says he holds if we keep him quiet. At first light, I ride for the judge. We keep guard tonight. No crowd, no rope. You want to stand tall? Help me mend what the wind broke. The younger hand lifted his hammer. I'll brace the gallows down so nobody gets ideas. Do it, Jonah said. Griff, Walt, help him. Griff looked at the ruined frame, then at the woman and child behind Jonah's shoulder. He let out a breath. Fine, he said. We shore up the street. He pointed at Jonah. But if the court plays soft, I'll knock again. You knock in daylight, Jonah said. And you read my report before you speak. He held up the ledger. I wrote my fault in ink. I won't hide it. Ashkey stepped beside him, quiet as shade. Storms teach hands, he said. Use them now. Men peeled away to work. Boards thumped. Ropes creaked. The town chose effort over noise for one wet hour. Jonah closed the door and turned to Cal. Night will be long, he said. We will make it honest. Together we will. Cal nodded, eyes clear with pain and something like peace. Good, Jonah said. Breathe. That is your mile now. Night slid over the town like a blanket not big enough to cover all the worry. The street clicked with drip and rope. In the jail, the lamp burned low. Jonah sat at the desk with his ledger and a pot of coffee gone bitter. Ashkey stood where the hall turned, still as a fence post, eyes on the rear door. Cal dozed, then woke, then dozed again, breath even enough to count. You should sleep, Cal murmured. I will blink, Jonah said. That is all. Outside, a board creaked. Not storm talk. Footsteps, 2, maybe 3, soft and wrong. Ashkey lifted a finger, then pointed to the window by the cells. Jonah rose without a scrape. He set the ledger down, left the lamp and walked the shadow line to the wall. A thin tool touched the latch, gentle as a thief. Jonah waited until the metal found its bite. Then he shoved the shutter hard. The tool snapped with a sharp cry. A figure stumbled back. Another man hissed. Jonah stepped outside fast, Ashkey at his shoulder. Three shapes crouched by the wall. The younger hand stood apart, hands open. I told them to wait, he said. They would not. Griff Barlow rose from the dust, rope loop around his neck like a habit. Walt Keene swore under his breath. We said daylight, Jonah told them. His voice stayed even. Storm taught you nothing? Griff's face worked. Storm taught me roofs break, he said. And that boy broke the biggest roof you had. Then help me build, Jonah said. Not tear. He pointed to the square shadow of the gallows. You want that ugly thing to speak for this town at midnight? Walt shifted. The younger man shook his head. No. Put the rope down, Ashke said, calm as always. Pick up your names. Jonah walked closer and held out his palm. Griff looked at it. For a breath, all the old heat flickered. Then he pulled the loop from his belt and set it in Jonah's hand. Dawn, Griff said. Judge or no judge, we talk. Dawn, Jonah agreed. Out front, with witnesses. They stepped back into the jail. Jonah slid the bolt, exhaled, and hung the rope on a peg where all could see it and none could use it. Cal watched, eyes wet. You could hate me easier, he said. I could, Jonah answered. But easy is how towns rot. Dawn came clear and rinsed as if the storm had washed the hard edges off the town. The boards on Main Street shone dark with rain. The crooked gallows stood roped and braced like a tamed mule. Jonah poured the last cold coffee into the dirt and felt the night slide off his shoulders. Cal breathed steadily. The woman and her child slept on a bench covered with Ashke's blanket. A knuckle tapped the door. Jonah opened it to the empty street and the small crowd gathering by habit when the day begins. Griff stood there, hat low, rope left at home. Walt was beside him, tired but squared up. The younger man had clean nails and a hammer in his belt. Others drifted close, storekeeper, Smith, two ranch wives, the schoolteacher with muddy skirts. Daylight, Griff said. We talk. We do, Jonah answered. He stepped out, left the door wide so every ear could hear. Ashke stood just inside, witness quiet as stone. Here's the truth, Jonah said. Cal Ortega fired a gun in a crowded street, running with men who should have known better. A stray bullet killed my son. I chased with pride, not patience. That is in my report. Today I ride for the judge. Until he comes, the boy lives under law. The schoolteacher spoke first, surprising everyone. My brother was whipped once by a crowd that guessed wrong. It took him years to lift his face again. I want children here to learn letters, not fear. The Smith rubbed his jaw. Storm broke my roof, he said. Neighbors helped me set it back. I can set my temper back, too. Walt looked at Griff, then at Jonah. I won't carry a rope today, he said. I will carry a board. Griff breathed out slowly. I wanted sleep, he said. Truth is, I want respect more. If the court does right, I'll stand down. It will do right if we hold it up, Jonah said. He raised the ledger. I wrote the line we live by. Law is a door you hold for your neighbor even when you ache. Ashke touched the badge with 2 fingers, a small gesture of agreement. The woman with the child nodded, eyes bright. Thank you, she said simply. Us, the younger hand said. Let's make it mean something, they did. The town chose the road. Hammers rose. Tempers stayed low. The sun dried the boards and warmed the stone. By mid-morning, the street looked like a place where people could breathe again. The smith hammered a bent hinge flat on his anvil. The storekeeper swept grit from her porch in long, calm strokes. Boys carried buckets to the horses and did not shout. A neighbor set bread by the jail door and walked away without a word. Small things stood up straight. Doc Herrera checked Cal and nodded. Swelling holds, he said. Pain stays, but it behaves. Keep him quiet. Keep him cool. He can travel at an easy pace by afternoon if you must. I must, Jonah said. We ride for the judge. Ashke stood by the window watching the line of the road. I will walk beside, he said. Not to argue. To steady. Jonah looked at the crooked gallows. Men had braced it so no one could climb it. A team waited with a chain to pull it down tomorrow with the council say. For now it stood there like a warning and a promise both. Jonah did not waste anger on it. He saved his strength for the ride and the room where truth would speak. He wrote 2 notes and sealed them with plain twine. One for the schoolteacher. Hold the children close to work. One for the council. Meet at dusk. Read the ledger. Sign if you agree. He sent the younger hand to carry them and trusted his steady feet. Inside the cell, Cal watched with eyes that looked older than yesterday. You are still doing this, he said. Yes, Jonah said. He checked the wrap, loosened and snugged. I will do it again tomorrow if I must. I don't know how to pay for this, Cal said. You will work and you will answer, Jonah said. That is the pay. He set a canteen in the boy's hands. Drink. Jonah stepped outside. The street held a hush like a good church, not a fearful one. A woman pinned 2 shirts on a line and smiled small. The mare tossed her head and settled. The wind moved the cottonwoods the way a mother rubs a child's back. A fence crew set new posts where the storm had dropped the old ones. The town repaired itself with plain tools. Ashki touched the travois poles. We are ready, he said. Jonah nodded. He felt tired and clear. The road waited. So did the choice at the end of it. He would make it plain. They set out in the soft heat of the afternoon. The mare stepped carefully. Ashki walked at the travois head, steady as a metronome. Jonah kept the pace slow so Cal's heart did not race. The road to the rail spur lifted, then leveled. A telegraph clicked somewhere ahead like a cricket with a message. By the time they reached the depot, the sky had gone a deep, forgiving blue. The station agent came out, sleeves rolled, visor green. Heard about the storm, he said. You bringing the Ortega boy? I am, Jonah said. Send for the circuit judge. Tell him the sheriff of Red Bluff requests a hearing at first light. He laid the ledger on the counter. Tell him the truth is written and signed. The agent scanned the page, eyes sober. I will wire him now. He tapped the key. The wire chattered away across miles of pole and light. Jonah turned to Cal. You made it this far, he said. You will make the rest. I'm scared, Cal whispered. Me too, Jonah said. But fear is not a map. This is. He touched the badge and then the ledger. Road first, pit never. They bedded down in the freight room with the door cracked for air. Ashki sat cross-legged by the travois and watched the stars wake through the crack. Jonah wrote one clean line across the bottom of the report and dried it with sand. I choose justice over pride. I will walk a mile whenever I forget. At gray dawn, the judge stepped off the morning car with a carpet bag and a tired face. He read the ledger in silence, then looked through the door at Cal. You saved him, he said to Jonah. My hands carried him, Jonah answered. Truth did the rest. The judge nodded once. Then we'll do our part. That evening, back in town, the council signed the ledger. The gallows came down under a team and a cheer that sounded like a prayer. Jonah walked at last light to the grave. He set one plain stone on the small heap and said his boy's name. He did not bury the badge. He touched it, then turned toward town where lamps burned like small brave stars. In time, men with heavy hearts found him, and he walked the mile beside them, steady. If this tale gave you a steady mile, tap like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Comment one line. What mile do I still need to walk? See the next clean western on the right.